Sir, we are live.
So a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the 10th JGLS Young Scholars Colloquium. I am Anand Prakash Mishra from Jindal Global Law School, OP Jindal Global University. And it's my pleasure to welcome some of our alumni, including the first batch alumni, Kudrat Dev, our BA LLB alumni of 2009-14 batch, Mohit Yadav from 2012-17 batch of again BA LLB honors program, Srimankar Chaudhary, our LLB graduate who has completed his master's from King's College London, and of course our student panelist who had joined us, Gaurika, who is a first semester student in the BA Legal Studies honors program. So we have come to the 10th colloquium today, and it has been a great pleasure for me, a great journey, bringing our alumni from around the world to speak about their experiences, their both academic and professional journey which they had, and particularly sharing that with some of our students, and also answering a lot of questions which the audience asked in this colloquium. And in a way, this helps our law school not just to connect the alumni with the students, and also to have their perspective about the theme, but this also helps us to have those memories. I still remember Kudrat and as well as her twin sister Meher on campus in those days, and both were so bright. They did so well in their careers. I will actually like to hear the story from Kudrat herself. And someday we'll bring Meher also on this show, on this colloquium. But I must tell you, if you look at the theme of today's colloquium, 2009 to 2021, this 12 years of journey of Jindal Global Law School, it's nothing less than a miracle, I will say. I joined the law school in 2011, and even in my wildest imagination, I did not have any contemplation that we are going to become one of the best law schools in the world. We are going to be ranked, internationally. We were a small premier residential institution in the year 2011, and 2009 when Kudrat came, she will share her experience, what she saw in 2009 in the very first year as a first batch student. But I'm so delighted to inform my alumni and student Gaurika and the audience that today, when we are over 450 faculty members full-time teaching in the law school, we have become the largest law faculty of the country and one of the largest law schools in whole of the world in terms of the, a single campus having highest number of faculty members and students, one of the legal education ecosystem which has emerged in our country. Today, almost we are thrice the size of second largest law faculty in India, which is my alma mater, University of Delhi, where some 150 full-time faculty members teach and research, and it's a postgraduate study of law in the 3-year LLB program format. So the law school has come a long way. This 12 years of journey, which started with rather, I will say, a skepticism and a bit of doubt that what JGLS could achieve in a country with 1,500 law colleges, and where the easiest professional degree to achieve, to secure, is a law degree. And actually, I wrote about it that 3 universities in Western Uttar Pradesh, jointly affiliated some more than 300 law colleges, and some 30,000 students could receive LLB degree. They have that kind of, number of seats to admit students in our country. And most of the institutions lack even basic resources of law teaching, leave research, or good quality education. So in that milieu, in that situation, a law school like Jindal was indeed an experiment. And I'm so delighted today when we are talking after completing 12 years of our law school. It started on 30th September 2009 with the first batch with Kudrat in the class. And today we have emerged as 76th ranked law school in the world by QS World University Rankings by subject. So it has been a very distinguished journey. And this journey was not possible without our students, particularly of the first batch, who were first to take that leap of faith, and the parents who trusted the institution, which had no pedigree, no legacy, no background, but only hope, because our founding Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, and our founding faculty members, a small group of 10 people who have started this journey in a very special, very distinguished manner. So I invite all of you and the audience to this very special Young Scholars Colloquium, which is our 10th colloquium in this series. And I would like to invite Kudrat to start with sharing her own academic journey, even prior to and coming to the law school. And after that, Kudrat has achieved a lot academically, being a bright student at Jindal, but also she became a scholar later, earned a master's from London, and worked a lot in different fields. Over to you, Kudrat. I would like to hear everything from you.
Thank you so much for the kind words, sir, and the heartfelt welcome and introduction. The feelings are absolutely mutual. Seeing people from Jindal Global University and some logos of Jindal Global Law School on my screen really takes me back into time and really makes me feel happy and joy. So it's lovely to connect with everybody who is here and whoever will be listening to this session. So before I start, I just wanted to check in terms of time. How much time do I have? Because I know that we have four speakers, including Gorika, with us today.
So you can take 10 minutes to start
Okay.
with. And
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great, great. So I originally hail from Mumbai, and I did commerce at Nursi Monji College of Economics and Commerce. And actually, I wanted to stay in Mumbai and pursue my law at GLC, but Jindal Global Law School was really upcoming law school back then, and like sir mentioned, it had the power and the influence of really distinguished people in the sector, such as our vice chancellor and professors. But at the same time, it was a risk that we were taking. But with whomever I networked, my parents networked in the law field, leading law firms all recommended the global law school is going to be the next big thing. So don't think about it twice and go for it. So with that, my twin sister Meher and I, we took that leap of faith, moved from Mumbai to Sonipat, where the college was still being constructed back then. People from different parts of the country coming together, internet issues, water issues. So it was like, how do you put a community together? So there was a lot happening. But I also saw a lot of opportunities, we had the chance to work and learn closely with the brightest minds and so many young professors from different parts of the globe. And we had the chance to build a community together. Meher and I, we founded the Women in Law Society with the support of Professor Priya Gupta and Ashley Barnes. We developed the Mood Coach Society with the support of Professor Deepika Jain, and other professors came on board. So the journey to create something is something that started for me as a person at Jindal Global Law School. Earlier, I used to be a very shy person. If someone invited me to speak somewhere, I would absolutely say no. I'm not going to be good for your event. But now, when anybody approaches me, I don't think twice before saying yes, because I'm happy to share my views and my journey. What I think for me stood out about Jindal Global Law School is the quality of education. And this is something we take for granted. But when I went for my exchange semester to Cornell Law University, and people asked me, how is it back in India? And I said, I have the same quality back in India. That's what I've been doing for the past semesters. So that's when I realized that that's what Jindal Global Law School has to offer. And yes, it was tough to get into the legal profession with no seniors, where you tend to see that people who are from national law schools, of some law schools, they have their seniors already working in law firms, in corporations, having established chamber practices, and you have to make the name for Jindal Global Law School for the first time. So yes, that was a challenge. But I'm happy to share that when I joined Khaitan and Company, my first assignment as a dispute resolution associate, when I was working on that, um it was tough because it's challenging to work in the dispute resolution field just the way it is, but also because you're a freshie out of law school. So you always have this drive to prove yourself. And yeah, I'm happy to share at the end of it, senior associate said, Kudrat, you're from NLS Bangalore, right? I said, no, I'm from Jindal Global Law School. And that's when I realized that things are changing. We are building our own brand, and we are here to stay. And with the academic grounding that I've had at Jindal Global Law School, the international exposure that I had with Cornell University, but also to get a chance to intern at White in Case, Singapore in the third year of my law school, all of that put together, I think helped me also apply for my Shievening scholarship. And finally, that worked out. And life is about, I think, making full circles or having those realization moments. So I went for my master's, decided I want to focus in the field of mediation. And guess what? I come back and I start a pilot center at Jindal Global University itself, with the support of Professor Ajay Pandey under the Clinical Programs Initiative, where we've launched India's first youth conflict management and community mediation center. So having a university that supports you throughout your journey, no matter how many years it has been since you've graduated, is what really makes you feel uh, at home. I'm also working with Siemens as a legal counsel, and I think the grounding in professionalism, ethics, and the courage to take risks is something that I've learned at Jindal Global University.
So that's so amazing to hear from you, Kudrat. I will come back to you again. And I will like to tell the audience this event is being broadcasted on both YouTube and Facebook channels of OP Jindal Global University. And any audience member can ask questions from the panel as a whole or from individuals. Now I will come to Mohit. Mohit has a very interesting journey. Technology lawyer to the core and an entrepreneur, set up quite a few ventures. And I have always been so proud of Mohit. I might be the first person he met when he came to campus for admission. And I still remember that conversation. So if I remember correctly, he came with his first year marks, and he was very bright and with a high LSAT score, and wanted to join JGLS BLLB program. But he has already completed a year at one of the leading law schools. He wanted a change, very clear in his mind. I still remember, Mohit, your presence on campus in various activities. I don't know whether you are part of a student council or not, but in many student activities, I could see your presence throughout. You left the campus in 2017, but for me, it looks like, even I can remember Kudrat and Meher so fondly that it seems just I saw them yesterday on campus somewhere. I would like to see you back to campus whenever there is a chance, there is an opportunity, or whenever you are in Delhi. So over to you to share your journey, Mohit.
Thank you so much, Professor. Always feels nice to be back at campus, especially to meet with you guys. And yes, you remember correctly. So my journey wasn't very structured to begin with. So I was a science student in Gurgaon, and the idea was essentially pick up on engineering and then go on somewhere from there. But at some point, I realized that this is not something I wanted to pursue. So I had given CLAT just as one of those backup exams, and accidentally, I somehow managed to clear the exam. I joined the National Law School. I attended that for a year, but something didn't really click. And till this point, I had no idea about Jindal until one of those conversations I was having with my then roommate. And that roommate, interestingly, is now a faculty at Jindal. So it all comes back over here. So too many circles over. So he suggested why you did not apply to Jindal. It's closer to home. It's such a nice place to be at. And I was like, okay, let me check it out. So at that time, I wasn't really sure, but things became much more interesting when I gave the LSAT. I got a full scholarship, so that really helped. And once I was in, I think what really distinguished Jindal from any other law school is the kind of institutional support that you get. We can talk about infrastructure, we can talk about faculty and a lot of exposure. Even I had the opportunity to attend Osgood on a semester exchange program, etc. And these are nice things. These are great things. Most law schools cannot offer these kind of opportunities. But for me, so at the end of the year, most law schools are essentially graded on basis of what kind of placements they support. And that's one of the criteria which I've seen. And that was also one of the criteria when I was joining law school, something that I used to take a look at, because at the end of the 5 year, I would go where. But at some point, I realized I did not really wanted to do traditional law in as it is. And that is where the distinction came at Jindal. So in my 4th year, I took up a course. Professor Ajo was there. He offered this course called Advanced Corporate Law. And this was essentially your corporate law from year 1. So you were doing essentially due diligences in that course as part of the mandate. And somehow it clicked that this stuff is too mundane and it can be automated to an extent. So I reached out to him and I said, why are you making us do this stuff? I am pretty sure you would have some advanced technology back at your law firms, etc. So, and he said, no, this is being done manually at law firms. And this is something you will do as part of your job for the first 3-5 years. And that gave me an opportunity, but I was clueless. Until then, I was primarily interested in constitutional law. I had only taken constitutional law related electives. I had no idea or understanding of commercial law. I didn't intern at any of these tier 1 law firms, etc. I used to go to courts, etc., because that was the primary interest area. But technology was always at the back heart. So I reached out to him and I said, I want to automate this. Would you help me? And he said, yes, I would be more than happy to. And so this was my 4th year. And for the next almost 2 years, for a period of 2 years, he was available to me 24/7. So he would specifically come back to campus on a Sunday, spend 3-4 hours just explaining me stuff which wouldn't go into my head, and guiding me throughout. At the end of the final year, when the product was sort of ready, he put his own reputation online and asked partners at leading law firms to try the product out. I also reached out to Professor Aditya Saru, who also helped me open and navigate the corporate law firm scenario. And in essence, if getting a job out of law school was something, then Jindal gave me much more. It gave me a sustenance, a livelihood, and an organization that I lead today. Because my first set of customers, my product iteration, and entire hand-holding was done during the law school. It was incubated, developed, accelerated at Jindal Global Law School. At every level, I had some sort of support from law school, and post graduation, it only the kind of support I anticipated, it only increased, because with each validation they would also want it. They became more involved, the faculty that I had reached out to at the initial stages, and with every step it started reaching out much more. I'm happy to say that right now almost every leading law firm in India, be it AZB, be it Khaitan, be it Shardul Amarchand, and even outside law firms, large organizations such as KPMG, Deloitte, Edelweiss, these are all customers. And it happened because I attended Jindal. There's no other way to go about it. If I had attended any other law school, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have got this level of support. And that was crucial to my journey. And I'm really grateful that I made this decision and that Jindal took me in. And I had got this opportunity where I got something that I wanted to do at my own terms. And I've been supported throughout this journey. And I really feel privileged that I got this opportunity to be here.
So thank you so much, Mohit. I didn't know you worked so closely with Professor Arya Majumdar. He's indeed one of our finest professors and colleagues. This is extraordinary. And such a delight to hear your story about, I keep on following a bit the Download MCA, and even prior to that, few ventures which you did. In a way, very few law schools produce entrepreneurs, original thinkers, original creators. Though almost every law school produces law graduates and advocates, and those who join legal profession. But certainly, I'm so glad to hear your story. And now it's time to have Srimankar Chaudhary. Srimankar is a graduate of LLB 3-year program. He came with a very distinguished background, a political science honors from University of Delhi, and a strong interest to study law. He had option to go to University of Delhi itself or to other institutions, but he left North Campus, came to Jindal, spent 3 years, completed his degree, went to King's College London, completed his master's, and now he's enrolled as an advocate in Patna High Court, where he has worked. I had a look at your internships with some of the Supreme Court judges, honorable judges of even Patna High Court, with some law firms, some advocates. So I will like to hear from you, Srimankar, even your learnings, not just in University of Delhi and Jindal, but also at King's College London, and your aspirations, and you are in a way fresh LLM graduate of King's College, and also from Jindal you graduated in 2020, so it's not much time. So over to you, and thank you so much for being part of this panel.
Thank you so much, Professor, for giving me the opportunity to come and speak this evening. Definitely not as experienced as my preceding two speakers. They've done some excellent job, and it's almost beautiful to hear them talk. So about myself, my journey in higher education started in those trademark red bricks of Ramjas College, Delhi University, where I spent 3 years studying the intricacies of politics, how power dynamics is to function, notions of administration, and all that comes along with a degree in political science. I was also a very keen debater in my 3 years at Delhi University, something which I wish I had continued when I was in Jindal, because Jindal also has a stellar debating society. But nevertheless, for 3 years, I debated in what is known as the parliamentary form of debating. And I was also vice president there for a year. And that background in of study in politics, and since politics is essentially a study of power, along with my experience in debating and whatever little teaching it gave me in terms of critical thinking, sort of made my transition into law school at Jindal very innocuous. It was very seamless. It didn't even feel like a transition. It felt more like a continuation of my academic journey, which came about naturally. Now, why is it that, since everyone has talked about as to why they chose Jindal, I think my reasons for choosing Jindal were perhaps a bit different from those of my preceding two, because I simply came to Jindal at a time wherein it had already had 8 years of solid academic reputation behind it. I joined Jindal in 2017, and my simple reason was that it basically had the most to offer to me as a student. That and we all talk about Jindal's amazing infrastructure and it's such a well-stocked library and all the sort of international and national exposures it gives you. But I feel like the most important thing that Jindal has the ability to offer to its student is to a student of its is the encouragement in varied arenas of research and exploration of novel legal topics that one may feel like exploring, and that is, I think, amazing. As Mohit said, he wanted to see whether he can automize a very mundane activity in law that people were doing on a day-to-day basis, and he got the opportunity to do so. I wanted to study something as unheard of as comparative, like as about judicial institutions and how they function and the dynamics that exist between the bar and the bench. And would you imagine that there was a module especially dedicated to this? And it was unheard of, and it was amazing because it was also taught by a professor of immense academic repute in the form of Professor Alexander Fisher. And the ability in terms of the liberty that professors can give to their students so as to enable them to explore their academic interest is unparalleled, something that I did not even see in King's. And that ability of and that liberty of exploring things along with a strong tradition of critical thinking, because Jindal is an academic environment where everyone respectfully tries to engage in your point of view and will try and even poke holes in your point of view, and that allows for that almost Hegelian uh, evolution of an argument, leads to a situation wherein there's a strong tradition of critical thinking that is inculcated in the student. And that is the one thing that I feel when I joined King's College London, it was missing, because I feel like, and maybe it has post-colonial underpinnings to it, because post-colonial countries generally tend to come up with stronger critical academic traditions. But the idea of of those approaches, wherein you go ahead and you don't take anything that you read at face value, but you try and examine the validity of what is being said to you on the touchstone of your uh, till that point acquired academic knowledge or body of information, is something that is unique to Jindal. The fact that it manages to encourage and inculcate that in its students. And more importantly, however, Jindal is also unique. For me, it was important. It was also unique because it was a very progressive and liberal campus, and that progressiveness and liberalism of the university campus led to an atmosphere wherein people could actually express the things that they wanted to express within the presence of the campus. Your discussions in classrooms were absolutely uninhibited, and people were respectful about about differing point of views. And in that sense, Jindal managed to create this safe space of a kind that was not seen in India at that time. And one has to believe that that atmosphere is something that allows for its students to grow in more holistic and in more positive manners. And I feel that is the crux of my experience at Jindal. The fact that Jindal gave me a space to express myself in ways that would not be possible in academic classrooms of Delhi University or any other public funded university or most private universities in this country. And that safe, modern, progressive atmosphere is, I feel, like the biggest strength that Jindal brings to the table for any prospective student, for any alumni when they look back at. Uh, of course, there were professors at Jindal who had the sort of intellectual breadth in terms of either legal philosophy or whatever their interest area may be. The interest was not just peripheral, it was always in depth. Professors were always extremely well prepared, but more importantly, professors were the faculty and the administration staff is also really empathetic to its students, wherein they just don't end their concern with you once the class hour is over. They will make sure that they go beyond what is required, and they will make sure that you're having the best possible opportunities. When with all of this extensive training, when I did decide to join King's College London for my master's in transnational laws, and the I found myself choosing modules of study which were all very uh, social oriented, very human rights oriented, very climate justice oriented. And I feel like something is to be said about this atmosphere of uh, of social responsibility that also prevails on campus, because we are constantly the narrative of discussions in campus prevailing at any given point of time is very socially conscious. It's very consensuous, and in that sense, it leads its students to have to leave the campus in uh, in a with an inclination to do good, to not just leave campus and make a ton of money, even though they may very well be able to do so with all the great opportunities the campus gives, but to make sure that somehow that the training that they've received, the the privilege that they've had in terms of the education, that they use it to make things better for someone or the other. And I feel that is a very important thing that a university should do in an individual. Now, at King's College, I took modules, again, stellar faculty at King's, uh, academic doyens in human rights or modern slavery, barristers coming and teaching you. And I took modules on modern slavery, I took modules on human rights, I took modules on climate justice. And the atmosphere of teaching was not very different, except that the critical thinking aspect of academics was sort of missing simply because it was a Western liberal institution in a former colonial power, perhaps. And that leads one to think as to whether or not Jindal is matching up to these universities. I would, I would, with great consideration, I would say that it is in fact exceeding a lot of the teaching that's being given in these so-called famous prestigious universities of the world. And therefore, the amount of intellectual benefit plus points that Jindal, a teaching at an education at Jindal gives you is, I feel, to me in my career, has been unparalleled. I have had the opportunity to intern at the Supreme Court on two occasions. I was working with Justice Indira Banerjee on both those occasions, and it was an extremely fruitful internship on both occasions. Now, Jindal again gives a ton of opportunities in terms of internships, which is why even though I had absolutely no way of breaking into certain sectors of the law, for example, tier one law firms or offices in Delhi, I could still manage to go ahead and get an experience to be able to learning in these spaces because of the really active uh, career wing of the university. So I got an internship at the litigation wing of AZB Bombay. I had been to Bombay only once before. There is no connection with Bombay that I can ever have except for that internship. Uh, I could work with senior counsels in Delhi, in Patna. It's all, and a lot of it. The reason why I could possibly go ahead and stand my own was because of the rigorous academic training that one receives at Jindal. Um, Coming back from England has been again a conscious decision for me because I've always had an inclination towards hardcore courtroom litigation. And as a graduate of a law school in India, the ability to be a successful barrister in the UK is very limited unless you go ahead and you spend a long time studying the bar and then getting called to the Inns of Court and then so on and so forth, getting on with the pupillage. More importantly, also because I feel that Jindal has showed to me that the ability of Indian jurisprudence to evolve is sort of infinite. The courts here have solved questions of legal importance that in the 1970s, which now countries in Western liberal democracy, courts in Western liberal democracies are still grappling with. We have excellent laws. We have excellent ways of coming up with novel interpretations of law. And as a person who wants to get into litigation, whose primary objective for getting into a master's was so that I could get a different perspective and see if certain kinds of argumentation that may be taken for granted in other countries can be transplanted into India. I think with all of that as my personal context, I chose to come back to India. But in my entire career of academic, whatever limited it is, Jindal has been truly the shining beacon. Thank you.
So, Srimankar, actually, we talk a lot about Jindal in our these colloquiums, and of course, the speakers are only our alumni and students. So naturally, there will be, uh, uh, institution all around, and particularly today's colloquium, which actually focused about our journey of last 12 years. It's so, I will say, inspiring to hear from you, your experiences. And many of our students have said so, like what Kudrat said when she went to Cornell. And at Cornell Law School is an Ivy League institution, uh, world renowned. She went on a semester exchange, if I remember correctly. We were hardly few years old and almost unknown in India itself. So, and then studying at Cornell Law School in absolutely, I will say, seamless way is something which shows what the law school did in its initial years, and it's continuing. So now I have my student panelist of today, Gaurika Grover. Gaurika is joining us from Kashipur in Uttarakhand, and she has studied from the Gurukul Foundation School in Kashipur, completed class 12. She has joined our BA Honors in Legal Studies program. This is a new program of the law school, started last year, but became very popular. Over 300 students are studying this program now in law school in 2020 and 2021 batches. The idea of 3 years of undergraduate education, a first degree, and then taking up a LLB degree, what Srimankar did, studying a political science honors and then taking up LLB. Unlike, say, Mohit and Kudrat, who took up BA LLB honors program immediately after class 12 and committed for 5 years. Gaurika had chosen to earn her first degree in legal studies. We were the first university and law school to offer a BA law or BA legal studies program. In India, law school doesn't offer any degree except an LLB. But we believe our law school has immense potential to become an intellectual powerhouse in a way, not just about law, but entire gamut of social sciences, humanities related to law and legal studies. So BA Legal Studies program is something very close to our uh, institutional aspiration to further build the 3+3 pathway in a very strong manner. And I am not surprised that very recently National Law School of India, University Bangalore, decided to offer a 3-year LLB program from next year. And in a big way, the contribution and commitment of Jindal Global Law School to LLB 3-year program, like what Delhi University has, it never introduced a 5-year program in its history. It's, I mean, even today, it's strongly committed with the postgraduate format of legal education. So Gaurika had chosen that pathway. She is a first semester student of 21-24 batch. Unfortunately, you all have not even visited the campus, and truly saying the campus is empty and it has lost life. But we are hopeful that we get. I mean, we would be able to have all our students and faculty members and staff and to see campus in full bloom from 1st of February when our the spring semester starts. So over to you, Gaurika. Your experiences and coming to Jindal and even attending classes, you should share something. I'm sure you should be delighted to hear from your seniors who have spent their good number of years and time at the law school. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Good evening, sir, and all the panelists and the viewers. Thank you so much, sir, again for having me here. It is absolute honor to speak among such successful panelists. Before talking about anything, I'd like to talk a bit about myself. I'm Gaurika Grover, as mentioned by Professor Mishra. I belonged from a business background. And to begin with my school life, I am from the Gurukul Foundation School, Kashipur. I've had a great school life. I served as the school vice captain for the year 2018 to 2019 and the deputy head girl for the next 2 years. Fortunately, I have been really active in the co-curricular in my school. I also met the mayor of my city, Srimati Usha Chaudhary, for a cleaner and greener city. I was also very lucky enough to meet the Indian ambassador of the Indian embassy, Mr. Akhilesh Mishra, in Maldives on climate change through an exchange program conducted by my school. Public speaking and debating is my absolute forte. I twice received an award in prestigious institution like IIM Kashipur. I'm still exploring my different sides. I started writing blogs. I used to come up with a blog every Thursday. I also write and handle the social media of the NGO Har Mahina Har Mahila. That's me. Coming to my life at the Jindal Global Law School. So to be honest, like any other student, I was also very nervous before getting into college. After coming out of school, getting into college, I had that nervousness in me. But I specifically, I spent 3 months at Jindal, and I specifically chose Jindal because I did not want to compromise on my education. And the education provided here at Jindal is absolutely excellent. The professors over here are so warm and welcoming. They're so approachable, not even only in the classes, even after classes, they provide us, they clear our doubts, so that is what something that really clicked me in Jindal. I'm as mentioned by professor, I'm in the 3+3 pathway, and it provides me with so much flexibility, as initially I was not sure of the commitment of the 5 years. So I opted for a 3-year course, BA Legal Studies. Besides flexibility, it provides a foundation for me since I am from the commerce background. Jindal also provides a lot of good opportunities, like this is one for me, that will surely prove to be helpful for me in future. I've also noticed one thing, that Jindal's way of teaching is quite practical, and they inculcate the right skills in you for being a good lawyer in future that each one of us wants to be. I'm really looking forward to being at the campus and looking, because every time I tell someone that I am in Jindal, they're like, you absolutely have to look at you absolutely have to be at the campus. It is really beautiful. And now I'm really excited to be at the campus, and I want to join the Moot Court Society. I want to join the Debate Society, the MUN Society next year. And actually, I'm a first generation lawyer. I'll be the first generation lawyer in my house. And to be precise, I want to specialize in the corporate law. I chose law because, like, knowing my own rights, it empowers me. I can only think of bringing a change in society, like, if I'm myself educated and empowered. At this point, I remember a statement by the CEO of the World Economic Forum. He once said in his speech, which I was listening a few days back, that giving ordinary people a knowledge of law and how to use it, it is to initiate change. It empowers people and strengthens democracy. That is my life at Jindal, and I look forward to a lot more new experiences. I've met plethora of people. I've the cultures have been, and meeting so many new people, knowing so much and learning all of this. I'm surely I'm so sure of the fact that it is going to help me in future.
Wonderful, Gaurika. It's such a pleasure, even a student based in Kashipur finding Jindal today, almost Kudrat won't believe, this year we received application from 17 countries other than India in our law school. And within India, we received application from some 500 districts. It's not just Mumbai and Bangalore and Chennai or Patna in Bihar. We received applications even from Muzaffarnagar, Bulandshahr, Muzaffarpur, every district, Tirunelveli. I actually, from one state, some 20, 25, 30 districts, we are receiving applications. So Jindal Global Law School, I remember in the earlier years in 2011 and 2012, in 2011, I traveled to one city called Nasik in Maharashtra, and I had a talk at one of the law colleges. The principal was truly, I mean, she was true about the fact that she has never heard about any such law school by name Jindal Global Law School. And she told me, you are the first person whose email introduced me to this institution. And then I actually offered her our copies of Jindal Global Law Review. If you remember, the earlier few issues were published by us. Now that Law Journal has become the only academic journal of a law school, which is a Scopus indexed in India and published by Springer. But that time we used to publish it. And I had a few copies of that. And then she suddenly realized what we are doing. And today, if I say out of 1,500 law colleges or say thousands of schools, almost everybody knows the institution so well. So this journey has been absolutely fantastic. So I'm not surprised that from, say, Kashipur in Uttarakhand, or for that matter, Almora or Haldwani or any place, not just Dehradun or big cities or state capitals, students are coming. I mean, this year in your program, Gaurika, we have a student even from Muzaffarpur in Bihar. We have a student. I mean, then of course there are students from every metros, every big schools, but from everywhere there are students. So we have truly become an institution which is representing the whole of India and even a part of the world. So now I will come back to Kudrat again, and it is like we have 10 minutes. So I will like us to wind up and in a way your parting remarks. Kudrat has also been a British evening scholar. Very few people in the country, particularly in law school, graduates receive scholarships like Shivning or INLACS or say Commonwealth scholarship. And JGLS graduates have actually achieved them all. I think British Tuning in Kudrat batch herself, Shireen Moti, who is now teaching at our law school, she is a British Tuning scholar. Then there were a few more who got it after in the next batches. So I will like Kudrat to actually give her parting remarks, and thank you so much for joining, Kudrat.
Thank you so much, sir. So, to all the listeners and viewers, I would say look at life as a place to explore yourself and your real purpose, and look at Jindal Global University as a space, as an institution which really supports that mission, whatever it is you define for yourself, and also helps you find that. And if there are a lot of students here, I would want to say that don't get too bogged down about I have to decide what I have to do in life today or before I join law school, or deciding whether I take this elective or that elective will be determinative if I'm going to be a corporate lawyer or a human rights person or an entrepreneur. It's not something that you should be bogged down by. Explore yourself in different ways, and yeah, enjoy life. Do what gives you joy.
Yes, Mohit.
Mohit, you're on
Yes,
mute.
yeah, sorry. I just wanted to take a cue from what Kudrat said, because primarily I think if anybody who's listening out there, my only advice is that at least do consider applying to Jindal, whether you make the decision later on or not, because the primary thing that I can say over here is that it's one of those few places which actually lets you be, irrespective of what decision you have made. And trust me, 5 years or 3 years is a long journey. When I had started up law school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. By fourth year, I was convinced I was going to practice before the appellate courts and practice on constitutional side. I had taken almost 6-7 constitutional law electives. So that's one of the strengths, right? Because it's not just about faculty, etc. You can literally specialize in a particular area of law before you even graduate. Fourth year, I coincidentally took another elective just to explore another option. And then my career took a completely different U-turn. So there's no fixed path. But what I can say with utmost conviction is, irrespective of what path you take, I do not think there's any institution in this country that can support your journey to the extent that Jindal can. And that's something that's something you should really take into consideration, because your choices will change. But what you need is like a culture and a support of network that can essentially let you reach that place where you want to be at. So that's all I have to say.
So next, Srimankar, please.
For my closing remarks, I would like to perhaps conclude with this by addressing this one perception that has for long prevailed in among successive generations of prospective law students, and then lawyers, that that the Indian legal system, that legal education is very rigid and traditional and stuck in the past. And I feel like if there is anything that Jindal can teach us, is that something so rigid can also be modernized and made inclusive and expansive and welcoming. And to that end, the fact that Jindal is creating the sort of is producing the sort of lawyers it is, and producing the sort of legal academics or tech lawyers or people who are interested in arbitrations and mediations of the quality that it is, who are progressive, again, liberal, forward looking, and very intensely interested in research. I feel like by changing legal education, Jindal is now enabling the legal system to change as well, and for the better, I would argue.
Wonderful, Srimankar. So, Gaurika, your closing remarks. Yeah.
Yes, sir. For my closing remarks, I'd like to take one thing from Kudrat ma'am's statement. Like, she very well mentioned that, like, if we cannot enjoy something we are doing, we actually will just do it for the sake of doing. And yeah, we like, okay, I changed my stream, and it was, I'll be honest, it was a bit difficult for me in the first week of college, but yeah, now I realize that the thing that I'm doing, it is something that I'm really enjoying. In spite of having assignments, I really enjoy doing them. So something, we should do something that our heart likes. We should do something, like, that we really enjoy. And yeah, I just close my statement with one thing, that yeah, Jindal is something that should I got into almost every college I applied into, but I specifically chose Jindal. And I think so every student who needs to who opts for law should actually, like, keep Jindal as an option. Actually, not as an option, but as a priority, to be honest. Yeah.
Wonderful, Garika. So I also enjoy what I do, and it's that is the reason why I do this colloquium. One day someone very close to me asked that why you do this, why you not ask some of the students or maybe junior faculty member, a younger one, to organize this. Then I said, it's my joy. I love this. When I hear, when I see, I have not seen Kudrat for a long time, or for that matter, Mohit, or even Shubha. So at least these meetings bring a lot of memories, a lot of joy, and it's absolutely what in Sanskrit they call Swanta Shukhai, for it's your own pleasure, you do something. So thank you very much for being here, and we will continue this journey. And all the very best. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
sir, for
so
having
much.
me here.